I spend a lot of my time traveling to different countries and working on building my YouTube channel. So today I'm going to be discussing exactly what it takes to be a content creator who's working towards making money from the content that I'm putting out. Some of the behind the scenes, a little bit of a reality check maybe for some people who want to start content creating, putting things out there for the world to see, and what it's like working towards being monetized. Hey, I'm Ollie and I'll be going into detail about the pros and cons of building a YouTube channel from scratch, as well as some of the risks that you might take along the way, as well as some tips that have helped me see an uptick in my content. It's pretty self-explanatory, but often overlooked, I guess. So obviously one of the key benefits is that you actually get to learn how to make videos. And you can see here that I'm in a completely different environment from where I normally shoot my videos. So you're always kind of trying to adapt to your limitations, your environment, and anything that goes wrong. But it's kind of interesting that after a while, you realize you're starting to create watchable content. And in a way, that's a bit of a superpower because suddenly you become the brand. And although you may be talking about other people's products or companies, you kind of realize that if people do decide to buy, it will in large part be because of you. This obviously only occurs if you've got some partnerships or sponsorships, and it takes a lot of time to build trust with an audience. They're going off your recommendations. They want to listen to you, what you have to say. But it's an awesome feeling sharing your insights with so many people. And then on top of that, have companies believe in you and your channel to promote their products. And if you do decide to be a content creator, here are a few things that you can be sure that you'll be upskilling along the way. So obviously you've got the camera work, cinematography, videography, whatever you want to call it. What you see is the most important part of a video, obviously, or else it'll just be a podcast or something. And you've got all of the planning that goes into that, all of the shots, the tiny little details that come together to craft a single shot. And this can have a huge impact on your audience. Me sitting behind a desk as a talking head will evoke certain emotions, as opposed to me sitting on a sofa, for example. The difference in lighting, the sound, things like that, all will evoke different emotions. For me, I love crafting every shot. So I don't have a specific studio that I have set up where I can just turn everything on, hit record, and I'm on my way. My environment's changing constantly, so I'm moving things around. I might be in a different country. I might not have all of my equipment. And so I might have moved the camera maybe 20 times before placing it down to actually hit record for a single shot. Because essentially what I'm trying to do is bring out the best of my limitations, my confines, the environment that I'm in. And so even a talking head shot like this, I'll spend quite a long time trying to craft it just because it gets the most screen time. So if it was maybe a cutaway that you would see for a second or two, it wouldn't be that much point in me putting more time than I would in a talking head shot like this, for example. I'm always going to make mistakes, and with moving locations so often, there's always going to be unforeseen variables that I have to do my best to manage, but it's a nice challenge as a content creator. It's the variety and trying to make the most out of the cards that you're dealt. So the camera work is obviously very important, but there's a lot more than that goes into a shot. You've got lighting. So it might look like I've just turned on a few lamps or bulbs. I actually don't have many lamps where I'm currently at, otherwise I would have lit the background a little bit better, but I'd probably lose 80% of my subscribers, for example, if I just turned the camera on and didn't add anything to the lighting or change the scene at all. By the way, if you're not subscribed, it's the easiest way to support the channel. Just hit like and subscribe. That'll be cool. Lighting is everything in a video. The way that you light a scene will evoke certain emotions or moods based on your setup. So now I'll turn the lights off and show you what it looks like. Not the best, right? Like the one I just showed, for example, if all of my videos look like that, you wouldn't think too much about it, but you also might not want to watch them. You might think it looks unprofessional or lazy, but I've watched some YouTubers that go with this kind of aesthetic and it's their vibe. And that's got an authentic feel to it. So if you're going to become a content creator, you kind of have to figure out your own path. Next, we've got sound. So the best way to kind of explain this to you is just show you an old video of mine.
Excited to be here. I have always wanted to do this, and I'm finally taking the leap to give it a try. So all of this equipment that you see or don't see arrived just yesterday. So
if you don't cringe at your early stuff, you're probably still cringe and not progressing. In all seriousness, sound is hard. I mean, there's probably going to be a lot of differences between this video and the previous one. Again, because the setup has changed. I've got a squeaky table, for example, and I'm using this little Rode mic, but you've got to factor in so many things like the distance from the mic, any Foley sound, so any background sounds, birds, cars, whatever it might be, and any other interferences that all can have an impact on the sound quality. This takes a ton of experimenting with, to be honest. I'm still constantly messing with my setup, but I cannot stress enough the importance of good sound. And for sure you'll hear videos in the future that might have worse sound because again, I'm trying to experiment and test with every single video that I do. That's part of becoming a better content creator, taking risks. So then you've got script writing and presentation. This was an area that I knew would be challenging for me. Writing content and then presenting it is pretty hard, at least for me. I mean, it's not as simple as picking up a pen or opening your laptop and all the words kind of just start flowing immediately, like that meme of that kid. I mean, it would be great if the words did flow all at once, but likely you're going to be writing a script. So again, it's another choice. You've got to decide what you want to say with the video. what you want your audience to feel, how you want them to receive the message. Obviously, unless it's more of a conversational style video or something off the cuff like a stream. I know that personally, when I start writing a video, I start with a general message or a theme. And then I try and drill a bit deeper into how can I express this message. Is it more of a structured video or relaxed, a talking headpiece or a visual driven story? And then once you've kind of got the format and the script nailed down and you start presenting it, you kind of figure out along the way how you want that message to come across. At least that's how I do it. I know for me, for example, I might repeat a sentence 5, 10, 20 times before I get it right, whilst also sounding authentic and engaging, which obviously can take a lot of time and be tricky. And it requires a ton of practice, which again, I'm still getting used to, but it can be the most fun and relaxing part of creating content. Okay, now the mise en scène or mise en scène. Don't pronounce it like that. I won't go too much into this, but essentially it's everything that you want to see in the shot. So all of the elements that come together to combine to make the video, like the lighting, the camera, the background, the movement, the characters, the emotions, etc. The end result, basically, that the viewer sees. And for this, you can just get inspiration from other content creators or even films. But obviously you're building a community whilst you're creating content and building a YouTube channel. And you're engaging with people who enjoy the content that you're putting out. Maybe they don't enjoy it so much, but most of the time they probably do. Otherwise they wouldn't be subscribed. It's always fun to interact with you guys because most of you like the same stuff that I do. Obviously you get some trolls. Perhaps the best part about being a content creator is responding to some of these trolls. And yeah, you can always troll them back. And that community building ties into things like marketing, because not only do you learn how to market yourself, but you can also market products that you've created or that you're being sponsored by. So it creates kind of like a small funnel for your audience to these products, especially if YouTube ads aren't paying you enough. So let's maybe look at some of the downsides of being a content creator. So if you've decided that you're going to do it full time, whether it's your job or not, it means you're going to need to put in the work. Motivate yourself, because there'll be many late nights where you're working on your own and setting up, and the motivation isn't always there. I'm going to be real. Obviously, if you're getting paid, it will be a lot better. But if you're an unpaid content creator, you're going to need to stick with the grind for quite a while. You might have to set up your studio like me and then take it down and put it back up and take it down. Obviously, as you build and grow, you can rent out a space, perhaps buy one and have a dedicated studio for your work, but that's not always a luxury that you can afford. And so really the key thing here is just grit. You need to motivate yourself. Again, as a small-time content creator, you might be looking at products or reviews or signing up to software. And likely, most of these purchases are going to have to be from your own wallet. So for example, one of my previous videos was a roast of the iPhone 15. That wasn't a review unit. I just bought it myself and decided to roast it. So if you want to check that one out, I highly recommend it. It was a lot of fun to shoot. And that's a big part of this. Sometimes you just want to make videos for fun. I personally don't have a specific niche. I do tech videos, design, travel, and everything in between. And hopefully I'll expand into more niches. Right now, I'm just having a lot of fun making these videos, and I'd recommend it for anyone who might be getting bored of their job or need a creative outlet. But it's not all smooth sailing, so don't get me wrong. Growth-wise, it'll likely be slow. This is something that in the beginning really frustrated me because I obviously wanted my videos to reach a larger audience, and in return, I would see more of a benefit from that, like being eligible to be monetized, for example. But now I see it kind of more as a goal. I'm aiming towards getting 4,000 subscribers, for example, and however many watch hours is required now. I'm embracing more mediums like shorts. I'm getting more creative with them as well. So like adding little animations and subtitles, things like that. And they all seem to be slowly getting some traction. Again, it might feel like a bit of a slog in the beginning, but as you slowly get into a groove and figure out the best way to manage your time when you're shooting, if you've got a day job, if you've got a bunch of responsibilities, you can do so by setting up a schedule and then sticking to it. I think like 90% of being a content creator is managing your time well and continuing to be motivated at times, even when you don't want to. So this might be a short video, but the reality of being a content creator is that when you're just starting out, and probably for quite a while after that as well, it's not going to pay. And that's all right, because for me, content creation is about experimenting with things that I love. Similar to user experience design, if you've heard of this. It's simply about creating a test and then monitoring its impact. Whether you're looking at data, emotions, or even reactions, you're trying to gauge the efficacy of an experiment. And if you're not testing, you're not learning. So creating content is the most taxing type of work that I've ever done. It's super long hours, for example, far longer than any job that I've had. It's not 9 to 5, it's 9 until whenever you fall asleep. And then on top of that, you're constantly putting your work on the line for public scrutiny. And so you're kind of always out of your comfort zone. And that's not a bad thing. That's just the reality of being a content creator. So for me, those difficulties are the point. I obviously get satisfaction from providing people with something useful or entertaining, but it does run deeper than that. The difficulty and practice of trying to get comfortable being slightly uncomfortable I found to be pretty healthy. Over 99% of people consume the content that you're putting out there, and it's only the few really that are the providers. The only difference between the two is that one group is willing to risk being hurt by putting their content on the line. And the other kind of bittersweet reality of being a content creator is that you're constantly improving across multiple crafts to, in my case, build a public persona, providing value. And so that in itself will become increasingly more desirable, because as we shift into the age of AI, everything digital will get tremendously easy to create or replicate. So in a world like that, I think people will desire human interaction more than ever.